right, so let's cover the question of how much land should you buy? And the answer is it depends. It depends ultimately on what your goals are and your budget, all right? So for example, if you have a strong goal of, I wanna do a homestead, I wanna have a home site, I want a life out in the country with some chickens, maybe some goats, and I want a garden, and I just wanna really enjoy more of the simplistic country rural life, all right? Well, in that case, you're looking at still at least 10 acres, okay? I would not recommend anything less than 10 acres because that's going to give you plenty of room and space to achieve kind of all of those homesteading type of objectives. But if you have any type of goal, say for hunting purposes, you want your own hunting paradise, even if you don't necessarily have the budget for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of acres, I still highly recommend something that's at least in that 40 to 60 acre range, because that's going to give you enough room to really enhance and diversify the habitat to allow wildlife to come to your property. Can you manage your land for wildlife with less acres? Absolutely. But if that is your primary goal, is for a hunting tract for you, that is kind of that, at least that minimum range that I would highly recommend. And then when it comes to timber investment, if you're thinking, I want to create generational wealth, I really want to diversify my portfolio and invest in timber, the minimum acreage I highly recommend is at least 2 to 250 acres, okay? And that is going to be the minimum. And again, it all comes down to the diversification, the ability to have plenty of acreage to be flexible with your harvesting schedule, your timber types perhaps, and allow other alternative revenue income streams. And especially if you're looking at it from that generational wealth, that means you have the intention of passing it down to your family. And this is when you're gonna have to think long and hard of how do you want succession to go. If you have one kid, it's a little bit more straightforward of passing it down to one individual. However, if you have multiple kids, 2, 3, 4, or if you want to include the entire family unit, perhaps your brother's kids, sister's kids, whatever it may be, that's where things are going to get a little bit more complicated when it comes to succession. You might be thinking of trusts or partnerships or LLCs, but in that case, you especially want to have larger acreage because that also gives you the chance to subdivide the property later on in life and give everyone their individual plot without it being so small that they really can't do anything with it. So if you're trying to figure out how much land should I invest in, I love to talk to you, better understand your goals, and give you that initial recommendation of range that we should be starting to look at. All right, so shoot me a message, shoot me a call. I'd love to talk to you and have those conversations.